What a beautiful day. Hello. Are you keeping sane with the restrictions? I don't know, because you can't reply to me right now, but I hope so. This week I sit down with adult queer Judy to see if I can learn a thing or two. Again, I summarized the 3 things I learned at the end of the video, so welcome to jump to there if you want. Timestamped it somewhere on this page. Alright, let's go. You were about 20 when you joined YK?
I was at Melbourne University, so
Right.
I came out, realised a bit more about myself once I arrived at university. I frequented the Melbourne Uni Queer Lounge. And the reason why I came across Yellow Kitties is someone from Yellow Kitties came and talked about Yellow Kitties at the Queer Lounge. And I was like, what? You think I'm not the only Asian person in Victoria? Kind of thing. So,
wow, that's
so
really cool.
I joined straight away, in a lot of respects. And I'm glad I joined because I felt similar to your experience. It's like you just felt like, oh, there was always people like me. We had a lot of similar interests and experiences, which I didn't necessarily get from the Queer Lounge.
When you said you realized when you were at uni, how did you
I had
come
my
to
first
realize?
crush. I experienced my first crush. That was how I kind of. I know, right? So I went to an all-girls school in high school, and so and I just focused on studying. So that was, there was no interest in my own sexuality at that time. I had in my head that once I finished high school, get into uni, that's when I would go and get a boyfriend. So that's what I had in my head going into university. Yeah, when I went to uni and I met a girl that I liked quite instantaneously, then I realized how a crush felt like. I started thinking about that person daily as well. And I was like, oh, I get it. I see a person and there's just that instant attraction.
Yes.
That's why I was like, oh, cool, I like you kind of thing. But apparently when I like them, I just don't talk to them, like, ever.
I can relate to that. You like them so much.
Oh
I'm
my
going to
God.
ignore you, but that's because I like you so much.
So much.
So much I'm going to ignore you. That makes sense. Just go with this. When did you start dating?
How did I get into it? Good question. Well, the first thing what I did was actually go to the Queer Lounge to make friends because I didn't know anyone else who might be going through the same stuff. One of the things I tell sometimes the younger people is that I don't know how they do it these days, because for me it was always going to a place to meet people and then something usually eventuates. So Queer Lounge was my place, and that was it really at that time before, and then I joined Yellow Kitties. So websites were kind of there was more sort of dating sites coming up as I was getting older, but it was not something that I personally got into. So we had, is Pink Sofa still around? We had Pink Sofa.
I don't know what that is. I'm not okay. It might still be around. I'm not the most up to date with places either.
Eventually, I did try. There was another site called Friday. Oh my God, I'm showing you my age. It's an old site. Friday is quite a big site in Southeast Asia. So it's huge in Singapore and Malaysia and all those other Southeast Asian countries. So, that was perhaps one of the sites that I sort of went through to find more queer Asians.
Did you date any like Australians, or were you more wanting to culturally, I guess?
Before Shemaine, my current partner, I had it in my head that I was what's it called?
Potato
queen.
I just learned that from. I had no idea what that was, and she's like, yeah, potato.
Potato queen.
Yeah, great. First we're bananas, and then we're potatoes and bananas. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a funny mash.
Potato queen, but only because I had not really met many other Asian women personally. So I don't think I was picky or had any particular preference really. It's just what I was attracted to at that time. So happened they were white women.
When did you start getting into your first relationship?
You're asking me to go way back. I can't remember too much.
Let's take a walk down memory lane.
18, 19, and it's just I can say it now with much fondness and love. We're all just awkward. At that time, we don't know what we're doing. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was trying to figure out how things worked. So I think that was my first.
And then so your next relationship after that?
That was the same. It was like an instantaneous attraction. Because the thing with queer relationships is that there are no rules in a lot of the ways. There is no, it's this person that has to do the asking out, and it's this person that has to do the kind of thing, right? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, if no one's gonna ask me out potentially, so it probably has to be me that does the asking out. So I just went up to them, said hello, and asked them out. So it was good. I remember the time because I said, would you like to have, I think I said, would you like to have with me sometime? And then she said, like a date? And I said, yes. And then she was like, okay.
Wow.
So it was pretty easy. I was like, whew, okay, well, that's cool, because I really did not think how to react if she had said no.
Wow, that's gutsy of you.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I could do it again, to be honest. But you just got to go for it. Sometimes it's easier if you just do the asking yourself. And again, I think, you're young, you still figure out what a relationship means and what it means to be a girlfriend and all that. So
what does it mean to be a girlfriend?
Compromise. How I just mentioned, it was kind of instantaneous attraction. At that time, you're in lust with that person. You're not necessarily in love with that person. After that lust fades, which is usually around, depending on the person, 1, 2, 3, 4 years later into the relationship, that's where you need to work at it to be in love. I reckon it's the first 2 years you're easily in lust with someone and not necessarily in love with someone. And it's after that, then, the novelty wears off and you're like, oh yeah, we don't have as much in common as we thought we did. Or, you're actually quite different than I thought you were. Kind of stuff.
I realized this 3 years later.
I know, exactly.
You're right about the roles. These days, I think kids probably have more access to a lot more content for LGBT friendly content, so they get a bit of role models. But yeah, like growing up, I remember this, like, the L word, but I don't know if that's the best.
Yeah, I think that's the best one to go on.
Yeah, everyone's so dramatic.
I have to say, back in my day, we had much more gender binary kind of roles, stereotypes, compared to the generation now. And I think you guys in many ways have it much luckier, because now there's less focus on so back then it was like, the butch and the femme. There's like, that was the dynamic kind of thing. So which means the butch had these kind of roles and the responsibilities, and the femme played this role, which for me, like, I didn't fit into those kind of roles and I felt uncomfortable. So in some ways I'm quite envious of you guys, because you don't have that so much. You can just always be yourself. Much more easy. Yeah, be fluid, be yourselves, and just go, you know what, I want to be. Yeah, I want to take this usually masculine kind of role, but but that doesn't define me as a generally masculine person.
No, you're right about that. There is so much diversity that we have, like, this room to kind of flow between masculine and feminine. In terms of, can I ask, with family, do they know?
The one that I was with for a year, that was my first coming out thing. So my plan was to hide her amongst my friends. I think that's what happened. But then my mum, usually parents can tell. So my mum asked me the next day, is she more than a friend?
Wow, your mum asked that. That's
yeah. But that didn't end so well.
Yeah, right.
So because I said, yes, and then she was like, lost her shit, basically. Probably wasn't too long after that we broke up anyway. So I actually went back into the closet for my dad asked me to, if I wanted, because I was living at home at that time. So my dad was like, oh my God, because he's like, your mother's just like in my ear every night. Can you just please go back in the closet until you move out of home?
So your dad was more, in a way, more receptive of your sexuality than your mom was.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I'm really quite eternally grateful for, because it was, I think I needed at least one parent to be understanding, or to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So my dad was saying, like, he doesn't necessarily yeah, so he said to me he doesn't understand it, but he accepts it because he loves me as his daughter. So he might not get it, he might not agree with it, but he's like, well, what can I do, kind of thing. So I'm like, oh, thanks. Yeah, but because he wasn't sleeping and he was still working at that time, he was working long hours. He was like, please, I need my sleep. So, so I went back into the closet for him since I was still working. Yeah, since I was still studying.
What does going back in the closet mean?
I literally went up to my mum and said, I've changed my mind. I'm straight
Oh,
again.
right. Right.
And then she was like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay. And then she was like, fine the next day. But really, I'm sure she knew, but she was just playing denial.
Yeah.
Then my second coming out was similar-ish experience because I met my partner from memory. I think I tried the same thing again, which is have her amongst my friends. So she might not spot the queer amongst my straight friends kind of thing, right?
How did that turn out?
But same thing. She didn't say, are you in a relationship with that person? Because obviously I told her I was straight, but she did say, what did she say? Something along the lines of, is she gay or are you closer friends with that person? And I said, no, we're just friends kind of thing at that time. How she came out was actually, she was also on the quick plug for the AGMC book, Living and Loving Diversity as well, was the Melbourne City Council had, what's it called? Melbourne City Council had the registry. And so I just said to my partner as a joke, oh my God, let's get registered. It's like $50. It's so cheap. Let's do this.
What does the registry mean? What does that mean?
It's a couple registry. You register as a couple.
Oh, okay.
At council. This was before same-sex marriage was passed. Obviously, it's a very long time ago.
Right. And so that's the recognition you were able to get is through that.
Yeah,
because marriage wasn't allowed. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Melbourne City Council was like, yeah, we're going to open up couples registry to same-sex couples and see how you go there. So I did that as a bit of fun. But unfortunately, Melbourne City Council, we told them to send it to my partner's address, the confirmation letters, but they sent it to my home,
of course they
where
did.
I'm still living with my parents. Yeah. And because it's an Asian mother, seeing a council letter, Asian mothers opens up the letter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she sees it was like, it's funny, like in the chapter I wrote, it literally was the gayest. It was the gayest letter they could have been. It was like, oh, thank you for registering your gay relationship. We're totally open to gay people and we can't wait for you to blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
there's confetti and glitter when you open up.
I know, exactly.
Why don't they just do that? Yeah.
So then my mum opened it and she left it open at my desk. So because I came home late that night and I saw the open letter at my desk and I was like, oh, but then it all worked out okay because the next morning, I called my partner straight away and I was like, oh my God, what should I do? Be prepared. I'm probably going to have to move in with you like now. He was like, whoa. Just relax. Just sleep on it. See what happens in the morning. Just have a chat with your parents. So next morning comes along and my mum's looking sullen. It was interesting because the first words that she said to me was, why did you lie to me? Why did you lie to me? And I said to her, because you look so hurt last time when I told you the truth.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to see you so hurt and unhappy, which is the truth. She was distraught when I came out to her the first time. But she actually then said after that, like, are you serious about this person or do you like this person? And I said, yes, I do. Then she said, well, if that's the case, then I give you my blessing. Just don't lie to me anymore. Wow. So yeah, it worked out well not everyone gets such a happy ending with their family. That's
incredible. And she wasn't angry about the sexual was an issue. It was just the part that you lied. So that's
I think that hurt her more.
Yeah.
I think at that time that I had kept that from her made her realize when I said to her, boy, you look so unhappy when I told you the truth. As a daughter who loves you very much, why would I want to hurt you? I just felt like it was better to lie to you. At least then you'll be happy about it. You'll lead a happier life. Yeah. So, but now my parents are still pretty good. My mum's probably not entirely okay with it still.
How old were you, Judy, when that incident happened in the letter? How old was
Yeah,
that?
quite a few years later. I was probably 20, 25, maybe.
Okay. And then from that point onwards, was your partner, you bring home and everything? Was that still, were you doing
Yeah.
that, or she was, open to that?
After that happened, we had no idea what would happen after that. But luckily, my dad is quite clever. He knew that my mum would probably ruminate over my gayness and sort of come up with all these ideas in her head about my partner and all that. And having never met my partner, he actually quite soon after, just out of the blue, called me and said, "Where are you now? We're having lunch with you right now, with me and my partner." But it was funny because that day that he called for that to happen was my partner's birthday.
Right.
I took her to a nice restaurant. Like I took her to Crown Casino, I think. The buffet place there, kind of thing.
Yep.
So I was like, yeah, like my partner, like, yeah, surprise, happy birthday, you're meeting my parents, kind of thing.
It's all you can eat, and then my parents. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was good. I mean, my mum was probably, you could tell her face was still a little bit unhappy, but as with usually Asian mums, is the 面子, the
Yes, the
face.
face. Yeah,
So
save
she,
face.
I mean,
Yeah.
she put up appearances and she was polite and nice to my partner in public. So that worked out well. And because that was probably the worst part, had been now that she had met my partner, we just kind of continued to make sure that there were more and more chances to meet each other, to sort of break away any thoughts she had in her head about how my partner might be like.
Can you tell me about like when you guys first started dating?
We probably hung out often and contacted each other every day, actually. And I was absolutely crushing on her. I think she had a crush, but kind of was in a bit of denial and thought, "What a great friend!" kind of thing.
She's so lovely
So
and caring.
I know she's so lovely, and I just like hang out with her every day, kind of thing. We actually did catch up every day, and then it got to the point where, again, I was like, "Oh my god, she's never going to ask." So you'll hear a different story to her. Actually, her story sounds funnier, so I'll tell you what she would say to you guys. Is basically, we were in my car, and I locked the car door. And then apparently, which I don't think I did, but she's like, "Yes, you did do it." I kind of turned to her and I said, "I want the next time we catch up to be a date."
Or you're not getting out of this car.
Not even getting out of the car, no one leaves until that's a yes. Apparently, she totally freaked out and said, "No." So, and then I was like, "What? But you're so into me. I know you're into me." And I was like, "You're totally going to regret saying that." "No, I'm just letting you know." After that, she was like, "Okay, I think I like you." I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's do this." So that's how we kind of got together.
That's remarkable. You guys have been together 14 years. I'm really yeah, I can only imagine what you guys have been through together. That's a lot of memories.
As you get older, though, time tends to move faster.
Yeah.
I sound like a person, but it's true what they say. Time does move faster. In some ways, I think I really lucked out because my partner is also my best friend. Like, I don't think I ever really had a best friend before that, and so it's nice to have that all in one package. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why it still works. I've heard people say in some relationships they might love a person, but they might not like a person. Whereas it's fortunate for me that I love her. I also like her.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, Judy. From your experience and knowledge, any tips you have for people starting out dating?
Yeah, compromise for sure. My partner and I do a lot of analyzing. So even when we argue, kind of dissecting our thought processes and why we're saying particular things or thinking and feeling particular things, that's really helped a lot. We're now sort of much more understanding towards each other. Now it's like, if I'm feeling a bit crappy, I'm starting to be more aware of myself and go, okay, if I'm having a crappy day, there's a chance I might be more snappy or whatever.
Yes.
That really preserves the relationship. Having lots of heart-to-heart discussions of, you know, how you might think about things and interpret stuff, and how that differs to how they interpret things and think about stuff.
Yeah.
Will make a huge difference.
Yeah.
That's probably give people.
Kind of like see if I can, pull out any tips about the dating period. I don't know if I'm gonna try the locking in the car and then like asking them.
Although I told that to my to a friend of mine, and she did the same thing, and it
Right.
worked for that
Oh,
there as well. So
that's a
maybe
two out of
I'm
two.
onto something.
I like the
know.
odds of this so far. Yeah,
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
test this hypothesis out.
But
Yeah.
life's too short. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Ask about. Worst thing they'll do is say no. Really, who cares if they say no? There's plenty of other people. So just go for it and be honest.
Did you have did you have a type or anything when you were dating?
I don't think I do. And I absolutely hated the thought of conforming to that butch femme dynamic. So I was absolutely, since I wasn't really butch, I sort of put myself into the slightly femmier category, and I was like, no butches kind of thing. And then my partner, she doesn't identify as butch, but most people would consider her butchier. And I was chemically attracted to her, which cognitively annoyed me. I have to admit. So when I physically reacted and had that attraction, in my head, I was annoyed by that, because I was like, "Why, Judy? You just said this wouldn't be your type. But you're totally into this person." So
can't fight physiology. Can't fight chemicals.
Hormones.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't have a type, and actually, another type is someone who can do a lot of introspection, and my partner certainly had a lot of insight and sort of reflectiveness. So I appreciate that, because I feel like if someone doesn't often reflect on themselves, it really limits their understanding of the world and life.
You made a comment before about how you're a bit jealous of the current generation, how we have all these fluidity, I guess, with presentations. How did you find a way of being with your sexuality despite sort of having these two things that you didn't really identify with?
To be absolutely honest, and it's probably not going to be a full answer, my current partner helped me big time. I was probably super duper anxious about how I was presenting to everyone. That's kind of my natural default state. I'm quite an anxious person about how people perceive me. I continued to be anxious until I met my partner, who does not give a crap about what people think about her. So I think I really needed someone like that to force me to not think so paranoid about what people think about me. So I got to tick it out in that sense. Through her, to be honest. So that's how I went through it. Back then, there's probably the internalized homophobia, where there was a fear that of the predatory lesbian, so to speak. So I was always mindful of not being the predatory lesbian. And I think that probably just made me even more anxious. If you know what I mean. And then having a partner, having a girlfriend, and then I felt much more relaxed. It's like, well, I'm not this predatory person anymore, because I'm with someone. I think that really helped me loosen up. She was quite instrumental in asking me, like, why does it matter? Why do you care? Are these people really important to you, or I just am happy with the way you are? So just, who cares what other people think? That really helped me be like, oh yeah, why do I care about what people think, or which label I choose to go with? It doesn't matter.
Can you share a little bit more insights about like internalized homophobia from your experience?
For me, it was the anti-femme butch sentiment. So that's almost like being homophobic towards butchers in a way, because it's because like if I was in the femme group and I thought that I was only attracted to femmes, then I would probably think to myself, oh well, butchers are trying to be like men. Why would any femme want to date a butch unless they were bisexual or straight? In reality, that kind of that thinking was what I was thinking back at that time. The fear that I might actually have predatory thoughts. Even when it's like, no, I'm like, I have zero attraction to all these straight friends, female friends. But why is there still a part of me think that I need to be careful just in case they feel uncomfortable? So it's all that kind of stuff that really limits yourself.
I've been sitting on that a little bit too, with the internalized homophobia. I don't know if this is like because of a bit of internalized homophobia or maybe just the nature of me growing up in Australia. I do see Asians as friends. And I wonder about myself whether it's because I grew up and all my friends were Asians. So I'm just like, don't be attracted to them, they're friends. And then now I've gone to a point where I'm just like, has that instilled in my mind, that kind of mode of thinking and behavior that I've kind of closed myself off, limited myself a little bit.
I do think that too as well. So, and then I wonder whether that's internalized racism. It's like, oh my God, all this internalizing. Because it's like, it's like, for a while I was thinking I wouldn't be attracted to Asians. I had the same thought. And my partner was an international student too. I wasn't a huge fan of international.
Same thing. Like I grew up primary school, high school, everything. Like Asians were never cool. So I never wanted to be friends with fobs, and I didn't realize how that kind of affected me. This is how we perceive them growing up in Australia. Yeah, that's interesting that you also experienced that.
It was, really interesting. And you know what? The only way it changed was I got to know international. My partner was an international student. Otherwise, I still would have been so racist. Really.
Realizing I was ignorant to this view of that.
It wasn't then that I had a chat with her. I was like, how come you guys don't necessarily make friends with Australians when you come to Australia? They're like, literally, she said, I tried. Like no Australian wanted to be friends with me.
Wow.
So it's like, oh shit, that's true. Like we're quite cliquey. We can be quite cliquey. And if someone comes in, if they have a language barrier or a cultural barrier, they're not necessarily going to be invited to parties and gatherings. So international students have no choice but to meet other international students because no one else in Australia can be friends with them. That's probably one of the things I would recommend is just to focus on making friends. When you meet someone where you have that physical click or that click, it'll just click. Like that's not something you have to search for. It'll happen. But the only way to increase your chances is to make more friends and meet more people. Patience is key. It'll happen.
I'm just gonna ask the cat cushions.
Yes, my auntie's. This is my auntie's place.
I know.
Oh my God.
I thought it was your house. I'm like, lesbian cats, that makes sense. And what do you like, your aunties? I'm like, what?
Just so you know, I am looking at some cat cushions, but this is my auntie's place.
Thanks so much, Judy.
Right.
Take care.
Hi everyone, welcome to my car. One day I'm gonna say that to a real person. Alright, here's 3 things I learned about being a lesbian. 1. In a same-sex relationship, we're both the same sex. Someone has to do the asking. If they're not going to, then I have to do the asking. It's worked 2 out of 2 times every time. I know maths. 2. It's okay to be awkward at the beginning of a relationship. I might stay awkward for longer, and that's very okay. 3. Growing up, I was scared to be attracted to females, because being a lesbian made me a predator. I'm a predator, then that makes you my prey. Preys are always scared of predators. Except I'm not dangerous. Might have the hots for you, I might not have the hots for you. You being uncomfortable and scared around me makes me uncomfortable and scared. Danger you create is me, and I believe you. Except I can't outrun myself, so I'm constantly anxious. 哦，我明白了，我是个同性恋的狮子。